All right, so the absolute first thing that you need to get right when it comes to newcomers and your church is your church's website. Now, that means that you absolutely have to make sure that it is mobile friendly as your first step. And the reason why it needs to be mobile friendly is because people are almost always going to jump onto their phone as their very first step and either Google your church, or they might be looking through Google Maps to find a church. So whether somebody's bringing them and inviting them, whether they are searching out your church, whatever it is, their first contact is almost always going to be your church website. And it's almost always going to be on their phone. Up to 80% even are probably going to view your church via their smartphone. So make sure that it works really well. Make sure it's a responsive design and that it's going to look fantastic on a phone. Some other things that you need to keep in mind are there needs to be a clear first step for a visitor. I actually like to make a series of steps and actually label them 1, 2, 3. These are the things that you do. First step, plan a visit or watch a video, or, view our sermons, or something that's kind of like your first step in that discipleship process, or that newcomer welcoming process. The next step usually is kind of getting deeper into that discipleship, doing something like meeting with a pastor, and people should be able to book this directly from your website, of course. You may also have as one of your initial steps to join a small group, right? So people should also be able to see that and do that from the website. So just an easy 1, 2, 3. This is your first step. Come and visit, watch a video, whatever, meet a pastor. Number 3, join a small group. Have some sort of kind of staging like that so people kind of know what it is. Tailor it obviously for your church, but make sure that you do have steps for people to take. This is a super pet peeve of mine, right? I don't know if this has ever happened to you, but sometimes you go to a church and they've renamed all the ministries, and the ministries will have all these crazy names like thirst, hunger, fire, blaze, like H2O, all these various like names, and you wouldn't know what they mean. Now, do not put this on the website, right? If you've got a children's ministry, just call it the kids' church or something on the website, so that it's very clear and obvious where to go. I've got a 6-year-old. I've taken her to various churches to visit with me before. Sometimes you walk in even and you have no clue where you're supposed to take them, because people have used these code names instead of very clear messaging that somebody like me that's never been to the church before would understand. Like, I don't understand what like the firehouse versus the boathouse means. I don't know. Whereas I would understand if they said preschool ministry, or if they said infants, or if they said elementary school or primary school, depending on where you live. That's a lot clearer to me. Then that's the way that it should also be on your website. You should have something very clear and distinctive that people understand. So if you're listing your service times, you want to tell people that that youth ministry meets during that time. Say that youth ministry meets during that time. 10:15 service, we've got kids ministry, we've got youth ministry. Don't say the code names of your ministries in there. It's confusing. It's not going to help people. It's going to be off-putting potentially to visitors. One thing that I run into a lot is that churches love to put a lot of text and they describe everything about their church in text. People don't really interact with websites this way. The way that people usually interact with a website is they'll scan it first. And if you're using like heat mapping software or something, you'll see it. People just go, they just zoom through the whole website, just kind of scanning it really, really fast. They don't actually read it. So what you want to do is you want to use very, very short text, things like your headings, and more like think in terms of more like bullet points, stuff that people will just very quickly kind of see and go, oh, okay. And, big clear buttons on what to do, and use images. An image says 1,000 words, and it's true. So if you want to communicate what your church is about, use those images. People will notice the images, and that'll draw them into the things like the headings and those bullet point style descriptions of your church and what your church is about. Use that. those are some tips that I have on your church website and making sure that you are able to engage newcomers through it, that you're able to welcome them in and get them involved in your church. If you have any tips or tricks that you like when it comes to church websites, or if there was a church website that really drew you in, go ahead and list it down below in the comments. I'd love to take a look at some of those and hear what worked for you, or what worked to get you engaged with a church. All right, everybody. If you're interested, there's some additional videos that you can watch here on the sides that deal with technology use in your church. In the meantime, I've had a great week this week. It's been great talking to you guys, and I look forward to talking to you guys again next week.